And you might think, but he told you the truth. He told me the truth when he was getting drunk and he forgot what he told me before. He didn't remember what he told me at that dinner when I spoke to him later on WhatsApp. When I confronted him with those two gaslighting stories, he got angry. That man called me crazy. You're mentally unstable. That is a red flag. A man that insults you, call you crazy, mentally unstable, that is abuse. He's gaslighting you. You understand me? So he forgot completely what he was telling me. Gaslight me and then gaslight me again, telling me that I am crazy, mentally unstable, etc., etc., because I confronted him with his stories. And of course, this is not only valid for from men to women, but there are a lot of good men who date toxic women. Yes, there are a lot of toxic women. There are a lot of good men out there dating the wrong women, and it is the same thing. The toxic women behave the same way. They talk bad about their ex-husband, father of their kids, and all these things. You know, it's just this is gender neutral because there are a lot of good women getting damaged out there, and there are a lot of good men getting damaged out there. So these things are also applied in connections with friendships. I experienced friendships that I set boundaries with, and they gaslit me, telling me that those things didn't happen. And of course, I know from experience because I am one of those toxic women that through childhood trauma lost my self value, my self love, lost my self respect. And before I started my healing process and started to take accountability, I realized, damn, I used to do those things as a woman. Yes, I am pointing the finger, but because also pointing the finger at me. So that's why I always say the next step in healing is taking accountability. Look at yourself, men and women. This is gender neutral. Look at what you're doing to yourself because that is reflecting at the world. And disconnect from toxic people. It is important to take accountability and disconnect from toxic friendships, toxic partners, potential partners, dates, what do you call dates, toxic colleagues. Don't connect with everybody, not even at work. Set your boundaries. If these colleagues are lying and they get angry because you set healthy boundaries and they tell the boss a different story and slander your name and the boss fire you, leave. Don't fight it because the boss was not interested in the side of your story anyway. You understand? So if you're working in a workplace, you get fired, don't fight for the job. Sometimes you need to fight because you need the money, but you know, if you can find another job, leave, find another job. Yes, disconnect. And as I said before, I was still partially am toxic. I have still toxic traits because I am still healing, but I am taking responsibility and I'm aware. And of course, these things come from childhood trauma. And of course, as a child, you and I, we were not responsible for what happened to us. We were just victims from adults. Adults, people who abuse us in any way and many ways possible. So we cannot take accountabilities for things that were against our power as a child. But we need to take accountability. But we need to take accountability as adults. It's not our fault what happened to us as children and infants, but it is our responsibility to heal from that as adults. And it is the responsibility from the perpetrators of our childhoods, the abusers of our childhoods, to take accountability. And often they will not. They will deny and deny and lie and lie. And we need to live with that. We need to accept that whatever happened to us will go, it will be buried, and people will forget, and people will want us to forget, and sometimes we forget. But then we remember, because God is guiding us, and we remember. And of course, all that gaslighting, denying, lying that our childhood abusers were doing, even in adulthood, when we start to remember things, we confront them. That is the same behavior that our toxic friends, toxic partners, toxic colleagues will reflect back to us. They will behave the same way as our childhood abusers, because we are not setting boundaries. Upon meeting, set boundaries. I got fired from jobs because the first day I start working, I set boundaries with the colleagues. I already felt the vibe. I knew this is not people for me, but I'm here to do my job. You're not going to be my friend because I already know who you are. I set my boundaries and got fired. So it is important to understand these things, that take accountability for yourself and then you learn to set boundaries. That is the next step. People will not like you when you set boundaries, because toxic people don't know how to handle that. They don't have boundaries either. They lack boundaries. They disrespect every person. When you start to set boundaries, you will lose literally everyone that is toxic in your life, because they don't like you, because you are healing, and it disturbs their damage on Holy Spirit. They cannot handle that. Partners, friends, colleagues, they cannot handle that. You will lose literally everyone, but you will find yourself.